Hello everyone, welcome to Eternal Brews. This is an Eternal Brew that's been a long time in the making. We've actually been working on this deck for a while, playing around with a lot of different iterations of it, and it just kept avoiding getting recorded. So we are finally getting to show it off. This is Restraining Order. It is a Restrained Action deck, and the idea behind it is that we are trying to play around with the extremely fun Restrained Action by getting a bunch of units that are about even in certain costs, 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6s, and all of which have decent effects when they are played based around currently a Relics synergy. So, for example, we're using Lucky Prospector, Shardbinder, and Antique Polisher, all of which in some way interact with Relics. We are also using Spellcraft Relics with Shardbinder specifically because we have the ability to play Shardbinder on a 0 cost, which allows us to do some interesting things with Grodaw's Burden and Kodash's Armor. So basically the idea behind it, we are running all of these relics out very, very quickly. We're trying to play Antique Polisher to reduce the cost of Restrained Action. And once we play through our initial set of units, we play out Restrained Action and we start playing out those units again. Restrained Action plays -1 curses on units. This is really good for neutralizing some of the damage that Sacrifice decks deal, dealing with some of the more aggressive flyers and making them a little bit weaker, generally just sort of keeping everything that your opponent puts out a little bit less on the board. And then also it plays a unit every turn at the end of the turn, which increases the ability by 1. So you get a 1-drop, which will be a 3/3 first. Then you'll get a 2-drop, which will probably be the Shardbinder, but can be Magnificent Stranger. Then a 4/2 for 3, or a Kodash's Stranger, which can attack as a 4/2 for 3. Then a Devoted Theurge or a Thrashing Duneworm, which if you're playing it in a turn where you haven't played any power, you can get very, very sick amplifies off of. Follow that up with a Linray Stranger, which is always great. Follow that up with Grodaw's Stranger. Because this card plays at the end of the turn, it is available to attack the turn that you play it effectively. So you will start your turn with a Lucky Prospector. The Lucky Prospector will be able to attack. Kodash's Stranger, same thing. Your opponent doesn't get a lot of chance to respond to the card because they'll have just finished playing their turn and you'll be able to attack freely without them really getting a response window to fiddle around with. That's really, really important because it means that cards like Linray's and Grodaw's Stranger and Kodash's Stranger all get huge benefits from attacking on board, as does Magnificent Stranger and other stuff like that. We'll be playing around some of this with the alternate version of this deck as well. It's a really cool effect, and Restrained Action is a really powerful relic. The main things, of course, are that you have to watch that it does not get destroyed by Draconic Ire or by, standard attachment destruction removal. For that, we defend it somewhat with Transpose. We are also using a small amount of 4-cost relics to help out. Our removal suite features 4 Edicts of Kodash because right now the main decks right now are Mono Shadow, Sacrifice Synergy, Praxis Aggro, Dragons. Basically everything has red or black in it at the moment, so like red or purple, Edict of Kodash is there. I have not seen a deck yet, at least tonight, that has played at all with anything. We were running 2 of them all the way up until the end of the night, but now at this point it just feels like Edict of Kodash is fairly necessary to give you some nice early interaction. We also have Turn to Seed, which allows us to disable some of our opponent's units very early, and also turn off key pieces of our opponent's combos. So for example, this is very good for getting rid of a Kindling Carver or a Nurturing Sadist, basically any of those types of things. It helps out for disabling certain key combo cards and getting rid of some of the really big fat units that are particularly scary when they're played on top of each other, like Marionette Cross, Sicaria, that kind of thing. Doesn't actually kill Marionette Cross, but keep in mind that it's good against Impending Dooms and your Aeromots, that kind of thing. It's very good against big Mono Shadow hits, and it's also pretty good against a number of other tools. In addition, our market contains an Avagraft, which we can use to either lock out further seeds if we have a lot of turn to seeds in our hand, or lock out other units and force our opponent's deck into a very difficult downward spiral where a lot of their draws are dead draws, or at least partially dead draws. You still have to deal with the turn to seeds eventually, but Thrashing Duneworm will help you pick those up, and overall you're trying to get to a certain critical mass point, which will usually happen right around the same time as their turn 5. So it's not too bad to get a turn to seed activated, since you're generally trying to push for a lot of lethal by that time because you're playing a lot of units very quickly. Okay, so apart from that, we're also using the Spellcraft combos, Kodash's Armor, Grodaw's Burden. You might remember these from our Monoculars deck, and the basic idea behind this is we have Codex, Burden, and Armor. That gives us every single faction unit, which currently we're running all single faction units, gets exalted. Whenever they die, they pass their exalted weapons to every single faction unit instead of just one unit. And also they get flying, and you can draw cards for each of them. So there's a lot of good things happening there. In addition, of course, Grodas' Burden allows you to draw cards and play single faction units, and Kodos' Armor allows you to give single faction units +5/+5 for a pittance. In all of those situations, they help out your aggro situation, help out your mid-range situation, and get you what you need to topple over and win the game before things get too deep into like really, really hard control. Not that you're bad at that particular scenario, but this deck generally wants to win. You know, at some point it actually is going to try to push across with all of the big stuff that we are playing. Yeah, everything else in the deck is fairly self-explanatory. We're using Theurge to keep ourselves alive a little bit longer to make sure we get Restrained Action. Our 4-drops and 3-drops in general are designed to keep that Restrained Action moving. Tradition Chant fixes for us, keeps us in power. We were using some Wisdom of the Elders, but we switched them for Edicts of Kodosh since the game is so tempo-dependent at the moment. And we have a decent amount of seats combined with a couple of Combre banners to make sure that we're getting the extra time that we need. You can also use cards like Gentle Grazer in this deck. There's a bunch of different available options, some of which we'll see in the B side of this. But for now, we're just going to show off a couple of games and let you know how it works. So we'll see you in games, and thanks so much for watching. All right, here we are up against One Hit. We're currently vying for Masters, looking at Tradition Chant. We have a Restrained Action in the hand. The hand's not very good otherwise, but it has good influence, so we'll probably keep it since we have 6 power on a Restrained Action. That at least is a plan, even if it's not a very good one for the early game. We can expect any cards that we draw from here on out to fill in, unless they're Grodas Burdens or Restrained Actions, but pretty much most everything will help out. So we're going to go ahead and hold on to this one and see what we can get. All right. One Hit is playing. We will shortly find out. Might take a second. A Feln deck, so probably Feln Mill, since that's very common, but it could also be Mono Shadow with just a little bit of Primal, trying to throw in Toma Horrors on top of Icaria. That's also a pretty common option. We have our second Restrained Action, so I guess we're getting right to the fun. If we get milled out, that's going to be, that's going to be our fault for keeping this hand, but it's still kind of fun. Okay, Dream Snatcher, so that probably means we're pretty dedicated. Magnificent Stranger will at least hold the fort and get us a couple of cheap discounts. Okay, got a Shadow Sigil here. Gonna go ahead and block. Nothing wrong with that if there's no Toma Horrors. And we have a Transpose, which will help out for keeping us alive. We really don't want to get hit with Mill very often, so I think here we basically just transpose for an Oasis next turn. Or, no, we don't need to transpose for an Oasis. We actually are good to go. Since we drew the transpose, Ancestral Oasis is our market card to make sure that we get Restrained Action in hands where we basically don't have any other action. But most of the time, we're probably going to be going for Avagraft or Rain of Frogs or something like that. So yeah, let's hold the fort. We can always grab Rain of Frogs to deal with Savage Incursion, the big threat of this deck. So that might be a pretty solid option for us. Haven't seen a Herald Song in a deck like this in a while. Oh, they're actually using Felrog. That's interesting. All right. Well, let's go ahead and go with... I want to be able to play one Restrained Action at the very least. So I think we're going to go with this. Maybe we'll just get an Avagraft down so they can't play that Felrog ever again. That feels good to me. Because we don't want to get discard synergy happening to us every turn. All right, that locks them out. Kind of an interesting setup. I haven't seen... I think Herald Song got added in the draft packs, probably to help out the Felrog decks. And we got a Two-Face, so there is some mill happening. Unfortunately, we don't have our Rain of Frogs anymore. We'd really like to get that going so that we don't get too many threats happening, but I think for the moment we're okay. And let's just get the Restrained Action down. We held the fort, we've done our job, so we're good to go. I could feasibly throw something else this turn, but I think that Restrained Action is actually the choice. There we go, locking it down, and we will just go ahead and... Could take 5 this turn, since we're going to be playing Kodosh's Armor. Get a little discount, help us out with the tempo. I think we're okay with that. They want to block with Two-Face, so be it. I'd like to get the attack in, and if they want to block with Two-Face, then we get the bonus, and we get to kill the Two-Face so we don't get damaged by it, which I think are two goals that we should be shooting for. Ah, they're thinking about it. This is a tougher decision for them. Certainly pushing damage might seem to be the way to win right now. It's going to be an interesting setup either way. I didn't draw the power, so I'm very glad I traded in the other Restrained Action, even though my natural instinct towards greed was to play 2 of them. But yeah, we had to trade either a power or Restrained Action, so it's better that we got at least one. Huh. Opponent does not like this development. So we get a 1-drop, we get a 0-drop, we get a Kodash's Armor, so now our board is loaded. And we get to attack. It's possible that the Restrained Action itself just kind of like sealed it up for them. They didn't like that. Looks like they're going to disconnect here. But as you can see, we went from being somewhat behind to extremely far ahead in just a turn. So not feeling too bad about that. All right. Next turn we get to style on him, Shardbinder. Oof. Grodos Burden. I think here we're just going to go for like the maximum amount of damage since we have that available. As you can see, deck's got some insane aggression attached to it, so yeah, really good stuff. Did we actually kill them? There you go. Didn't let them disconnect. I turned off the recording, but that happened, so there you go. Alright, here's hoping for a less salty opponent. We got Ressian. I'm looking at Tradition Chant, Magnificent Stranger, and Thrashing Duneworm, so yeah, we're going to keep this. We got a decent amount of setup here, so yeah, this looks like a pretty strong option. Go for double time. I do need to get doubles of everything eventually. In fact, I need triples for some things, but for now, this seems like it's going to be a pretty reasonable setup. Yeah, we'll double up on our time since that's going to help out with Thrashing Duneworm and Grodos Burden. Okay, got an early Shardbinder. It's better to play the Magnificent Strangers first since Kodash's Armor will take double green and Grodos Burden takes 5 power, so we're not in any particular hurry on that particular front. Okay, nothing happening there. Shardbinder's a big enough threat on its own that we want to play it as an aggressive option, but it might get dealt with in some way. Ooh, nice! That's one of the reasons why we have Magnificent Stranger in the list, is the chance of drawing that 4-cost Restrained Action. Okay, got an early banish, which is actually great because that means that they can't banish this. They can banish this. If they have another banish, we're in trouble, but we'll see if they decided to spend on it. Alright, Wisdom of the Elders. So, no banish yet. That means we'll get at least one 1-drop out of this.
Would you look at that?
And there's another one.
Would you look at that?
Alright. 2-3 and a 3-3 are attacking. We got a turn to seed available if we can draw the power. I could play Thrashing Duneworm to just get a 3-4 on the board. Considering how aggressive my current setup is, I think that's going to be better than waiting for the Amplify. We're just going to push on him. Another Wisdom. We get another 2-drop here. Could be Shardbinder again, since we really want a Grodos Burden. But yeah, I mean, the aggro on that was completely out of completely out of their reach. All right, here we go up against Tatarg Nefiri. Thus far, we're 2 for 2. Looking for that third one. Lucky Prospector. I think we're gonna redraw there. That's not really worth it. Okay, initial hand here is pretty okay. We got the double blue for turn to seed. We'll get a time for Shardbinder, and Antique Polisher can set up Restrained Action if we draw it. So seems like a reasonable setup. We do need more time, obviously, but by and large, this is not a bad hand. Okay, found a time. So I can seek for a time or seek for a justice. I think double time is probably more important than double justice, although having a Shardbinder, double justice is really nice for if you draw into a Kodash's Armor. Early Pillar of Progress can be a tricky one. Since we don't see anything that's worth hitting with Shardbinder, we're going to go for a Magnificent Stranger, try to get that discount Restrained Action. There it is. Man, we're getting Restrained Actions right on time. I actually wasn't even having this good of luck while we were playing it on the stream, but this is exactly what the deck is built to do, so... Got a Scorpion Wasp. For our green, we'll play Antique Polisher. And now we just gotta hope they don't have like a secret transpose or something, but I think we're good to go. They might have Attachment Destruction in a deck like this. It's certainly possible. Power Stone. Can live with that. Ooh, Theurge is nice. Actually, would have been a pretty good turn to play Theurge into Shardbinder, but I think we're pretty happy with this. You know you played a good card when your opponent just has to sit there for a second and figure out what's happening. It's always a delightful time. Okay, so they're playing Combre something. It might just be max power trying to get out Pit of Lenecta, in which case they're going to be doing a lot of harsh rolling, but the nice part about Restrained Action is we get to keep attacking them with units that we play. However, we should be a little more conservative with drops from our hand in that respect, since we're going to see a lot of Shenra Speaks, and our goal is actually generally going to be a lot of Shenra Speaks. Challenge by Law, not a card I see very often. Okay. I don't think it's a great card in this list, but if you're looking for something... There's Lucky Prospector, there's Devoted Theurge. I think we'll hold off on the Shardbinder since we can get some really good value out of it. Gonna see that Shenra Speaks most likely. Nope, Perilous Research. Yeah, it's a Perilous Research deck. They got Disjunction on a Restrained Action. That's not great. But gives us a little time, I guess. So, the remaining cards, one of them is a 7 cost that's just going to be pretty hard to kill. And they'll probably play that, so we should go for Shardbinder here. They might have a Harsh Roll as their second card, but I think we can't really like play around Shenra Speaks here. I think we just have to go aggressive. Alright, looking at Hatarg. They do have a Shenra Speaks. It's in their market. Market cards are dumb. But hey, we have lots of fun rants on the consistency of market spells. Wait, Etched Monolith? Okay. That's different. Not sure there's a lot of value in that. We can kill this pretty easily. One of their cards is a 3/2, so I think we're just going to go Edict. Because that kills the Shadow card that they somehow have. And Lucky Prospector is a 1/1, so if we get a Relic here, we're good to go. 3 charge Sandcrawlers. Pretty scary business. But not the end of the world. All of these attacks look good. And we have a decent amount of damage here as well, so not feeling too bad. By the way, for people who have only seen on YouTube, I have turned around on Turn to Seed, obviously. The card's ability to hit things on the board is just really powerful, so we tend to go for it a lot. I think they might have a Shenra Speaks here, and that might end the game, but we'll see exactly how things go. Because if they didn't have it in the market, then it would be in the main. Pillar of Progress. I mean, you gotta play as if they don't have it, and it kind of is starting to look like they don't have it. They got 6 power left. They can't play another Perilous Research here, because that's not gonna win the game. Turn to Seed, turned off cards, but they're not gonna draw any more seeds. And any sort of Relic, obviously, would be really good here. judging by how long this is taking them, it's quite possible we have it. But we're gonna wait and see. I think overall we are beaten up, and I think we're gonna go 3 for 3 for our recording. Looking good so far. Scorpion Wasp is pretty likely to be here. Let's gain that life since we don't have anything else to do. Not great, but also, is there a 5-cost fast spell that stops this? Scorpion Wasp, that's the card they wanted. So now they might actually have Shinra Speaks. Is this enough, though? I'm still putting forth 1, 2, 3 damage, so I think we have it. Yeah, that looks like exact lethal. Not bad, not bad. Certainly mainboard disjunctions are something to watch out for, as are, of course, mainboard transposes, but the deck is okay with some weaknesses. Let's go ahead and open this one in case we get another diamond chest. Nope, alright. Alright, so that's Restraining Order. Here's a different version of the deck. We call it Loudmouth, and the basic idea is it's a Restrained Action deck that just won't shut up. We're using Throne Room to try and trigger like some fast Darakas, that kind of thing, with our attacking units, as well as with Blitrock, Linray's Listener. The main central conceit of this version is that it's a Bastion of the Dawn deck that is using cards like Garrett Throne Guardian and Bastion of the Dawn to force yourself to not be silenced when you're playing Yojimba Ghostblade. In addition, if you play Yojimba Ghostblade off of Restrained Action, then your opponent doesn't have a chance to play a unit in response to it, so you'll almost always have a 6/6 attacking that can draw 2 cards if it hits the enemy player, which tends to be pretty wild. Yeah, it's a fun deck. This is a really cool version of the list. It wasn't as successful as the other version, but I had a lot of fun with building this one, so if you have any desire to tweak this one or play around with it, it's certainly worth a shot. Thank you all so much for watching. I am posting daily stream videos up on Pojo Plays at the moment, since those are pretty easy to make in comparison to Eternal Brews. So if you want to check out the alternate channel, there will be a link down in the description. Beyond that, we will keep coming back with more Eternal Brews, card breakdowns, all news Eternal, and all sorts of fancy card game content here at the original channel, Loco Pojo. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you all next time with more Eternal Brews. Cheers.